So today we're talking all about Cooper City, and honestly, I don't think this town gets talked about enough. And we recently had a client who kind of accidentally landed here. So in this video, I want to talk about what makes this town so special and why it's one of Fort Lauderdale's best kept secrets. Let's talk about it. So it's been a while since I've done a video about a suburb, but like I said before, I had a client who just recently moved to Cooper City, and long story short, they were visiting Florida doing their self-discovery tour, and they were really bent on Coral Springs, or just that northwestern part of Broward County, and they wanted to go eat at the Melting Pot in Coral Springs. And when they put it in their GPS, they somehow got to the one in Cooper City instead. I guess both towns start with C. But either way, it worked out for them because they discovered a town that they wouldn't have even known existed had that not happened. And Cooper City is definitely one of those less talked about towns in Broward County or in the Fort Lauderdale area. And it's a relatively small town, only about 8 square miles, population of maybe 34,000 people. And it's about 15 miles southwest of Fort Lauderdale, so it's kind of out there a bit. And it actually only became a city in 1959, so really not that old. Before that, it was pretty much just orange groves and cattle fields. So what I want to do is follow the criteria for the Fort Lauderdale Explained series, which is proximity, style, and cost. So let's head over to the map and take a look at the proximity. Okay, so we got Cooper City pulled up on the map right now, and we're gonna use downtown Fort Lauderdale right here as kind of our anchor point. So you can see Cooper City over here outlined in red, and it is about 15 miles southwest of downtown Fort Lauderdale. And so what that looks like in terms of commuting is you have I-95 right here, which is our major north-south highway. You also have the turnpike here in the middle. This one will maybe get used a little bit less often, but 95, and then you have 595 right here, which is pretty much our only east-west highway in Broward County. So whether you're going to or from Fort Lauderdale from Cooper City or vice versa, you would basically take 95 to 595, and then you could cut off at an exit like University right here or one of the other exits and come straight down into Cooper City. And that's gonna be probably about a 25 to 45 minute drive, of course, depending on the time of day. I drove from downtown Fort Lauderdale to Cooper City, and it took me right about 25, maybe 30 minutes. I wanna say it was around 9:30 a.m. So it's not too bad. It's pretty much all highway driving for the most part. Now this is the airport right here, this kind of gray thing. So if you're looking to get to the airport, pretty much the same thing. You would hop up one of these roads to 595, come east, and that's probably roughly about the same 20 to 40 minutes. And then as far as beaches go, the closest beach is probably gonna be Hollywood Beach right here. And you're looking at probably about 30 minutes to an hour. And the reason I say that is because if you can see Cooper City again outlined in red, there's no highways that run through Cooper City. So we do have our 3 main east-west roads that run through Cooper City, which is gonna be Griffin, Sterling, and Sheridan, and those will all take you out east to 95, to US 1, or to the beach. The problem is that they're full of stoplights, so it definitely takes a little bit longer when you're traveling that way. They also will take you out west to I-75, which will either take you north to Coral Springs, the Sawgrass Mall up that way, or south to Miami. It's also worth noting that there's not a ton of nightlife in Cooper City, so the Hard Rock Casino is not that far. It's maybe a 15 to 20 minute drive. Now, of course, you always have the option to drive into downtown Fort Lauderdale or Hollywood Boulevard, downtown Hollywood for nightlife, but you may not want to. Maybe you want to stay somewhere local, so it's a pretty good option that you have this close by. I guess it could be good or bad. Now, if we go within the city, within the borders of Cooper City, you have multiple public shopping centers, you have an Aldi's, and you even have a Walmart Supercenter. But the things that I get asked about a lot are gonna be places like Target, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Costco, things like that. And you actually don't have any of those in Cooper City, but they are close by. And so there is Davie is gonna be to the north and to the east, and then to the south is gonna be Pembroke Pines. And so the closest Target is gonna be in Davie, right on the other side of University. So it's actually pretty much right on the border of Cooper City. You're gonna have Trader Joe's and Whole Foods in both Davie and Pembroke Pines. And then Costco is gonna be only in Pembroke Pines west of 75. So you pretty much have everything you need either within Cooper City or just right outside of it. So overall, I would say not too bad for commuting. Drive times aren't horrible considering how far out you are. I would say the one major downside is just that a lot of it is gonna be getting to the highway because there is no highways that run right through Cooper City. So that's probably gonna be the biggest headache, is just getting to the highway and then potentially having to deal with traffic. If you're not commuting for work, then it's really not that big of a deal. But like I said, you pretty much have just about everything you need right within the town anyway. Just a reminder that we are a team of realtors here in South Florida, and we love making these videos to give you something that I didn't have when I moved out here 5 years ago. So if you get value from these videos, we want to hear from you. Give us a call, text, or email at any time. We'd love to chat with you, see how we can best help you move down to South Florida. All right, so one thing that kind of strikes me about this town is the amount of parks here. And remember, this town is only 8 square miles. There's 23, 20, there's over 20 parks in this town. Big sports complexes, like the one that I'm at right now, which is Brian Piccolo Park. It's 175 square acres. It's pretty much got everything you need, including a velodrome. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry, because I didn't either, but it's basically just a cycle racing track, and there's actually only 21 of them in the country. But whether it's a massive park like this, or a dog park, or just a small neighborhood park, I mean, this town seems to be very active when it comes to its parks. Now, as far as active goes in a nightlife sense, you're not gonna find that in this town. It is a little bit out there. It's a little bit slower paced. There's definitely less public transportation. It's more of your typical average suburban town that you would find in South Florida. And let me just rewind and say that when I was looking on niche.com, that Cooper City was actually ranked number 3 in multiple categories when it comes to best places to raise a family, best suburbs to live. I don't remember exactly which ones. I'll pop them up on the screen. But the parks definitely have a lot to do with that. And not only the parks, but there's a ton of activities here for kids, for families, and there's great schools. So there's 4 public schools out here in Cooper City, all rated 8 through 10 on gradeschools.org. And Cooper City High School is actually in the top 2.5% in the entire country. So when you think of what makes an area a great place for a family, activities, schools, things to do, parks, things like that, there's one more thing that I find very peaceful about this town. And it's not just coming from me. I was reading reviews and forums about Cooper City, and I actually had a listing here a couple years ago. And back then, I didn't really know Cooper City as well as I do now. And when I think back to it, the guy that I met with, he wouldn't let me leave his house at the listing appointment, and not in a weird way, but he just wanted to keep talking. He offered me food, he offered me drinks. And something that I've noticed is that people in this town are very friendly. Don't just take my word for it. When I was reading the reviews, that's one of the things that just kept popping up, was how friendly everybody is here. So what is there to do in this town? Well, I already mentioned that there's a ton of parks. And I also mentioned that it's kind of a slower paced type of town. I mean, you're not gonna find really big shopping malls here. You will find some strip malls, obviously, with like your public shopping center, but one thing that's actually really popular in this town is the Cooper City Antiques Mall. So that just kind of goes to show you what type of town this is. But as far as shopping goes, when it comes to bigger malls, you have the Sawgrass Outlet Mall, which is probably about 25 minutes away. And then you have the mall out in Pembroke Pines, which is the Pembroke Lakes Mall, only about 10 minutes away. So not too far, but just not within the town. But you will find things like nurseries, and it's just kind of got that almost like Davie, if you watched my Davie video, that rural type vibe, but also very suburban. I like to think of it as a mixture of Davie and Weston, kinda, which I did videos on both those towns, so make sure to check those out. Now, what about the homes in Cooper City? Like I mentioned, the town was only established in 1959, but a majority of the construction, I would say, gradually started in the 70s and then just kept building moving forward all the way up until last year. And random fact, in 1959, you could buy a home in Cooper City for $11,000. So if you're still hanging on to one of those houses, you probably have some equity in there. But it's a little bit more than that now. And this town is definitely more single family homes than anything. You will see some apartments and condos, maybe around the outskirts or in the older part of town. But this town is considered sparse suburban, which basically means low population density, and most of the homes are single family. Majority of homeowners compared to renters. But the best thing about it is you have a ton of options to choose from. It's not like Fort Lauderdale where you're kind of boxed into this price range and anything outside of it is not gonna be what you want. You have a lot of options in Cooper City, whether it's a home built in the 60s in an older neighborhood like Cooper Colony Estates, which, by the way, I love that neighborhood. I was driving through it this morning and it's very mature. It's got tree-lined streets. It's just a beautiful neighborhood. And not only that, but the homes are well maintained. And the good thing about those neighborhoods in a town like Cooper City, those older neighborhoods, is they're non-HOA. And sometimes in these non-HOA communities, you see people that just really don't maintain their house because there's nothing forcing them to, but that has not been my experience in Cooper City whatsoever. And in a neighborhood like that, you're looking in the $400,000 to $700,000 range. So it's really not breaking the bank. Now, one thing I will just tell you is when you are looking at a neighborhood like that was maybe built in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, Cooper City or anywhere in South Florida, just be aware of the fact that, yes, you may get a home at a much better price because it's older, but the roof, you have to be aware of things like the roof and the windows and the storm protection, and that's gonna have a lot to do with your insurance. So the home, you know, may be very affordable, $400,000, but it may have a 30-year-old roof on it. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're shopping in an older neighborhood like that. And then from there, you have a neighborhood like Montera, which is actually where my clients bought into, and that was built in the mid-2010s. One of the more popular neighborhoods here in Cooper City, gated community, kind of cookie cutter a little bit. Some people like that, some people don't, but all the homes are white. They kind of all look the same, but that's definitely one of the more popular neighborhoods. And then from there, it just keeps evolving, whether you're in the unincorporated part of town where you can find a home on an acre, which is not easy to come by in South Florida, all the way up to a neighborhood like Kingfisher's Reserve, which was just built in 2023. Homes in there, you're looking at probably a cap of about $3 million. They're all brand new construction. But again, it's one of those cookie cutter types of neighborhoods. It's kind of bare bones because it's newer, but that's the great thing about Cooper City. You have options from non-HOA, older style homes in really mature neighborhoods to something brand new, which in Fort Lauderdale, you just can't find that. And then you have everything in between. So I'm gonna show you a screenshot of the MLS of everything that's on the market. And just look at the difference in price points. I mean, you can just see that there is no shortage of options in this town whatsoever. And when you can check all those boxes of affordable housing, which is subjective for everybody, good schools, tons of parks and activities for the family, it's no wonder why this town is one of Fort Lauderdale's best kept secrets. But you know what's not a secret? This number and email that's popping up on the screen, which is exactly how you can reach us. And we hope you got value from this video. We'd love to have a conversation with you if you're planning a move down to South Florida, planning a move out of South Florida, wherever you're watching from. We want to hear from you. So give us a call, text, or email at any time. We appreciate you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.